Everybody wants to know which AI is best for a small business owner, ChatGPT or Claude. We've been paying for both of them for about 2 years now, and I'll give you a straight answer in just a minute. But the answer isn't quite as simple as it may seem. Every business is a little different. What you want and what you need is probably a little different from what I want and what I need. And in fact, the one that I'm going to end up recommending is not the one that I actually use the most, and I'll tell you why. I'm also going to show you how I use both of these to get real work done every day. And I don't mean just creating documents, I mean real work, the kind of work you'd hire a person to do: sorting my email, publishing my blog post, watching the ad spend across every one of our client ad accounts. But I ran into a couple of situations where one of them, Claude, just couldn't do some of the things I needed done. And one of those things is so basic, you're probably going to think I'm making it up. Some of these are probably jobs you'd like done for you too. And that's what's actually going to decide this for you, not a feature chart. Because here's the thing: the owners who are pulling ahead right now didn't pick the right one. They just picked one and started using it. All right. So let's get into it. Now, real quick, before we jump in, some of you are probably sitting there thinking, well, what about Gemini? What about Grok? And that's a fair question. I've actually used both of those for various jobs, and there's nothing wrong with either one of them. If one of those is your favorite, great, just keep using it. I always seem to end up coming back to Claude and ChatGPT, and so do most of the small business owners I talk to. These are the two that most owners I talk to are actually using out there in the real world. So these are the two that we're going to compare here today. Most people, before they start really using this stuff, think of ChatGPT and Claude as document machines. You ask a question, it writes you a blog post, maybe it cleans up an email, and that's about where it starts. That's where I was too, honestly, for a long time. And here's what changed for me: these things can go and do actual work, not write about the work, do the work. So this morning, before I sat down to record this, here's what actually happened without me touching any of it. My email was sorted and the urgent stuff was flagged. A blog post got published to my website, fully formatted. It made it pretty with custom images matching my brand. Our social post went out across multiple brands. A morning brief was sent to me with updates about my schedule and the latest industry news. And I had a report waiting for me on what every one of our client ad accounts did yesterday. I didn't do any of that. And I want to be clear: I'm not a programmer, I'm a business owner. If I can get this set up, you can too. Okay. So let's go job by job. Job number one, and for a lot of owners, this is the whole ball game, is writing business emails, sales copy for your website, blog posts, the stuff that has to sound like you and not like a robot. The winner here is Claude. And that's not really just me saying it. Go to a Google search on which one writes better, and you'll probably find most people who use both will say the same thing. Claude tends to write a little more nuanced. It sounds a little more human, and it's a little better at holding on to your brand voice once you've taught it what that is. Now, some people will tell you the gap has closed with the newest version of ChatGPT. And honestly, they're absolutely right. These two are very close on just about everything now. But if most of your work is writing, I'd probably point you still at Claude. All right, job number two is images. And this one's not close at all. I gave both of them the exact same request: make me a Facebook ad image for a heating and air conditioning company, a technician standing next to an AC unit outside a house, nice afternoon lighting, and leave me some room at the top for a headline. So here's what ChatGPT gave me. That is a real ad. I could absolutely run that ad today. And here's what Claude gave me. That's clip art. That's the kind of clip art that was cool maybe back in 2010. And look, I'm not really trying to beat up on Claude here. Well, maybe just a little bit, but Claude doesn't even claim that it can make images. That's not what it was built for. If you ask it for a picture, it'll do its best to draw you one. And that right there is what its best looks like. Now, here's an ironic plot twist to all of this. I'm about to recommend ChatGPT partly because of this, and I don't even use ChatGPT to make my images anymore. I have both Claude and GPT set up to talk to a third party image generation tool that goes out and gets an image generated there and then it brings it back to me. That costs me about 4 cents per image. I could probably save that if I wanted to reconfigure my processes, but it works great for me and I don't have to think about it. And that's also like a year two problem. On day one, you're not going to set up some second account with a billing profile just to get a picture. You need a tool that lets you type what you want and get a picture back that you can actually use. So, if generating high quality pictures and images matters a lot to you, then ChatGPT is probably your best choice. Job number three, numbers. And I want to split this one because there are two different things people mean when they say numbers. If you mean read my numbers and tell me what's going on, they're both very good at that. Every single morning, Claude hands me a report on what all of our client ad accounts did the day before, and it tells me where something's starting to go sideways. But if you mean like create an actual spreadsheet, and I'm talking about thousands of rows, pivot tables, tens of thousands of pieces of data that you're trying to wrestle into some kind of order, ChatGPT is probably stronger. That's just been my experience. Job number four, and this is the one that changed how I run my businesses. Can it go out and actually do real work? Here's the story I promised you, the one that's so basic you're going to think I'm making it up. I wanted my email managed. It didn't seem like too much to ask for, not written, managed, sorted into folders, urgent stuff flagged so I'd see it. The kind of thing you'd hand to a brand new personal assistant on their first morning. But Claude wouldn't do it. It would not move an email out of one folder and into another folder. I'm not even talking about deleting anything. I just wanted to move it from one folder to another folder. But Claude, at least back at that time, it wouldn't do it. There's some kind of safety setting that prevented it. And that's probably a good thing when you're a brand new user. So I didn't sit there arguing with it because that would be a pretty dumb way to spend a month. As soon as I understood it wasn't going to do the job, I went over to my Hermes agent that was running on ChatGPT and asked, "Can you do this?" And the answer was yes. So I moved that job over to Hermes and ChatGPT, and it has never come back. Same thing happened with my website. Any of these tools can build you a beautiful web page from scratch, but what they give you is an HTML file. Almost none of them are any good at building a page inside a WordPress theme like Divi or Elementor, which is what most small business websites are actually built on. What fixed it was giving my Hermes agent its own website login, its own user account, exactly like I'd set up for any new employee. Once it had that, it started building my blog posts, matching my theme, matching my branding, generating consistent images. It's awesome. Here's a message I got a few days ago from my Hermes agent, George. It wrote the post, it put it on the site, it made the featured image, it checked every link on the page, it told me what it corrected along the way, and let me know this post is scheduled to go live on the 25th. Now, I do want to be honest about something here because it's important. I still check its work every time. You wouldn't hand a brand new employee their job duties and then never follow up with them, would you? Same deal here. Start small, make it earn a little more responsibility, and then go look at what it actually did. You can't just throw all common sense out the window with this stuff. All right, now here's the part I really want you to hear because this is basically the central theme of this video. The difference here was never really about which one was smarter, it's about what each one was allowed to touch. I run ChatGPT inside of George, my Hermes agent. In normal people words, that just means the AI lives on its own computer with its own logins and has its own permission to do things. It runs on an old MacBook just sitting here next to my desk that was wiped clean, so it doesn't have access to any of my files or my personal stuff. If you never heard any of that before, it's perfectly okay. It's not really important right now. But the reason I use ChatGPT for the brain isn't because ChatGPT is smarter than Claude. It's because OpenAI, who owns ChatGPT, let me use my $20 a month ChatGPT subscription I was already paying for. And Anthropic, who owns Claude, wanted me to pay more on top of their subscription. That's it. That's the whole reason. But it's worth noting that I've been very happy with ChatGPT as the brain for my Hermes agent. As I'm showing you here in this video, I'm getting a lot of really good productive work out of that AI, and I'm still constantly finding new jobs that it can do almost every day. All right, job five, and this one's pretty quick. Long documents. If you've got a 40-page contract or a big industry report or a stack of a few hundred customer reviews, and you want somebody to read the whole thing and tell you what's actually in there, Claude probably handles that length better. It does a good job of managing that big memory it has. It holds on to more of what it read, and it's just a little less likely to maybe make something up along the way. Job six, how easy is it to customize this thing and make it your own? Both of them will let you build little specialized versions for the jobs you do over and over. ChatGPT calls them GPTs. Claude calls them skills. Here's the difference, and it matters a lot if you're just getting started. ChatGPT has a store for their GPT skills. You can search what you need and you just click it and it's in your account. That's the whole process. Claude's version of finding, sharing, and creating skills is genuinely powerful. And I've got a lot more of those than I have of the custom GPTs, just because that's where I spend most of my time. But a lot of them live out on developer websites like GitHub, and getting one set up takes somebody who's reasonably comfortable poking around in places that look like software development websites. To be clear, you don't need to know any code. It's all written in plain English. It just looks a little more intimidating the first time you see it. For a brand new owner, ChatGPT is probably a little easier, and those skills really customize it to make it your own. That's just true. All right, let's put the whole board up. Now, look at that. It's close. It's actually really close. And that's the real headline of this video, more than any single row on that board. 2 years ago, there was a real gap between these two tools. Today, for just about anything a real small business actually needs done, they're both far more powerful than whatever you're going to ask of them. So here's my straight answer. If most of your work is writing, business emails, sales copy, website content, and you need it to sound like a human being wrote it, go with Claude. For just about everything else, and especially if you're only going to pay for just one AI, I'd probably start with ChatGPT. And that's mostly because of the pictures. You're a small business owner. You probably need images constantly for social posts, for ads, your website, your listings. Being able to just type a sentence and get a real usable picture back without buying a second tool to do it is worth more to most owners than a slightly better content writer. And remember what I told you at the start, the one I'm recommending is not the one I use the most. About two-thirds of my work runs through Claude because about two-thirds of my work is writing and thinking and strategy. That's my business, is probably not yours. And that's really the whole point. There are trade offs here, and you just have to decide what's most important in your business. Now, in the interest of full disclosure here, helping businesses get started with these AI tools is exactly what we do. Everything I showed you today, the dashboard, the content system, the thing that publishes my blog posts, all of that got built for one specific business. If you'd like something that's built for yours, there's a link down below in the description. But honestly, whether you ever talk to us or not, here's what I actually want you to walk away with. Just pick one today. It almost doesn't matter which one. You just can't afford to keep putting this off. It's kind of like a video game. The first time you play, you get killed in about 30 seconds and you have to start over. And you do that a whole bunch of times. But by the end of the second week, you've switched into advanced mode and you're not even thinking about the controls anymore. Your hands just know what to do and you're unlocking bonus levels. It's the same with these AI tools. You just use them for a while to create content, and then one day it clicks that you can talk to this thing like it's an employee, that it can go and do real work for you instead of just handing you one more document you have to deal with. And that's kind of like unlocking the God mode on your video game. Because at that point, at least as far as your business is concerned, you can do just about anything you want. The owners who are ahead of you right now aren't really smarter than you. They just started. And honestly, they're not even that much further ahead of you at this point. I did a video here on this channel about a recent study that basically said most small business owners are still at that content creation level of using AI. Most of them haven't figured out yet how to get real work done like you've seen here today. which means you can absolutely still catch up and even pass them by if you just get started today and follow in the right footsteps. And if you want to see the actual tools I use every day to do all of this, I did a whole video on the 7 AI tools I can't live without in my business. It is going to be right up here, and there's a free cheat sheet that goes with it. All right. Thanks very much. I'll talk to you soon.